Hello everyone. Welcome parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, whoever is tuning. I can't speak English today. Whoever is tuning in to this Facebook Live. This is an important topic. It's a really important topic. And it seemed to be coming up a lot this week. And I've actually I don't think I've ever come on and done a Facebook Live about this. So what are we talking about today? Well, first let me introduce myself. My name's Brianna. I'm the founder of this group. Sorry if you get sick of always hearing me introduce myself. I have to, because there's new parents that are constantly coming into this group and they don't know who I am. So I help teen girls and young women and depression, anxiety, self-harm, self-loathing, suicidal thoughts, cutting, eating disorders, so that they can really step into their power, their confidence, and love themselves. So welcome if you are joining me live or the replay. If you are joining me live, go ahead and comment below live. If you are watching the replay, go ahead and comment replay. Oh, Noreen, I saw your Facebook post. I hope you're feeling better, you poor thing. Sending lots of love and healing energy to you. Thanks for even watching, even though you're in all this pain. So anyways, so I want to talk about the scary truth of why so many girls are sending sexually explicit messages and inappropriate pictures of themselves, oftentimes to strangers that they're meeting on the internet. Sometimes it's not strangers, sometimes it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but it's happening too much and it's happening too frequently, and we need to have an honest conversation about this. So let's dive in. So here's an interesting thing I want to go off of. I went on the internet a little earlier today, and I wanted just to give some facts and statistics to you guys about sexting. And actually, it's more common than some of you parents may actually think it is. And so I want to read some of this to you. So teenage girls have a few reasons for why they participate in sexting. 40% do it as a joke. 34% do it to feel sexy, and 12% feel pressured to do it. Okay? 12% feel pressured to do it. So who will see your text? It says 17% of sexters share the messages they receive with others, and 55% of those share them with more than one person. So what does that mean? If your daughter is sexting or sending inappropriate pictures or messages, often it's not just going to stop with the one person that she's sending them to. It's going to get out there. And that's a real scary thing too. Because once those pictures are out there, there's no taking them back. Okay? And you know how things can blow up on the internet really badly. So this is very, very scary. Okay, let me read a few more. It says, while nearly 70% of teen boys and girls who sext do so with their girlfriend or boyfriend, 61% of all sexters who have sent nude images admit that they were pressured to do it at least once. Okay, if it couldn't get any worse, let me keep reading. Nearly 40% of all teenagers. This is actually a really important one. So listen to this one. Nearly 40% of all teenagers have posted or sent sexually suggestive messages. But this practice it's saying it's more common among boys than girls, but it's still happening with plenty of girls out there. 40% of all teenagers. That's a big percentage. Here's another one that's really shocking. Sending semi-nude or nude photos is more common amongst teen girls. 22% of teen girls report sending images of this nature, while only 18% of same age boys have. It goes on and on. I'm not going to give all the statistics, but I just wanted to start with that. This is really telling that 22% of teen girls are reporting sending images of that kind of nature, semi-nude. I mean, it's out of control. So what's the scary truth that we need to talk about with all of this? There's a couple of things going on here, but I think a lot of parents are at a loss, because here's the deal. If your daughter's doing this, how do you know she's doing this? I mean, a lot of parents, some parents will check their daughter's phone, or they'll make, they'll go in there and check to see, okay, what is my daughter sending or texting or whatever. So you may see it that way. But a lot of you parents may have no clue that your daughter is even doing this. Now that's scary, because here's the deal. When your daughter goes on the internet, and if she's talking to a stranger, she may be 14 years old talking to a 45-year-old man who's a sexual predator, or, who molests kids or whatever. You don't know who your kid could be talking to, right? And these people that are going to be lying to your daughter, pretending that they're someone that they're not, or even if they're not pretending, the fact that your daughter would even engage in this kind of behavior is something that is really, really important, that we need to take a look at and we need to talk about. Why are so many girls doing this in record numbers? Well, one of the things that happens, so when girls do not love themselves, I've said this before in other Facebook Lives, when they don't love themselves, they're operating almost from like an empty cup, right? And they don't have their own self-love to fill that cup. So what happens is they go outside of themselves searching for that. Now, are they going to find love from a boy when they're sending like nude pictures or sexting or any of that? Absolutely not. But you know what they think in their minds? They think, well, this person is giving me attention, or this person is saying that I'm beautiful, or this person, like whatever they're saying to them, right? To kind of like reel them in. And a lot of these girls are feeling pressure to do it. They don't even want to send these pictures or send these texts, but they feel the pressure to do it, right? So they don't have a strong no, and a lot of these girls are people pleasers. But beyond just that, maybe they're not a people pleaser, but maybe they want to engage in this kind of behavior. Well, it's really, really scary, because you don't know who your daughter is even talking to, and where those pictures and where those texts are even being sent, and what garbage this person is sending to your daughter. Okay, your daughter may be sending that stuff out, but what is your daughter receiving? Is she receiving naked pictures as well from some like 18-year-old, 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, and she's engaging in that, right? Or she thinks she's talking to someone and then she's being catfished and it's really somebody else. It's some old man like in another state. It's sick and twisted what goes on, and I'm not here to scare you guys, but we need to talk about the scary things that are going on, because these issues are not going away, and these girls are not thinking about what they're doing, and they're putting themselves in harm's way, and there can be real big traumatizing things that can happen from all of this if this behavior continues. So I was talking about when your daughter doesn't love herself, right? When she doesn't love herself, she's looking for that kind of love outside of her. But it's not just love, she's also looking for validation and acceptance, and she wants people to like her. And if your daughter is someone that doesn't believe that she's beautiful, or she doesn't think very highly of herself, then when somebody else outside of her, in the outside world, actually starts giving her compliments and saying, oh my God, you're beautiful. Oh my God, look at you. You're amazing. You're sweet. It feels like a drug. If you've never had that before, if your daughter is not used to receiving that, and some boy or girl starts giving that to her, it's like a drug, and she wants more and more of it. And she's like, oh my God, this feels really good, because she sees herself as garbage, and maybe she sees herself as trash, or maybe she sees herself as fat or ugly, or not enough, or whatever she sees herself as. And then when somebody just all of a sudden pays her compliments and is, kind of swooning her, she gets wrapped up in this whole cycle. It's this web of deceit, and she can't see it. Lots of adults are catfished, and not just catfished, but like thrown into, they get with narcissists and people that don't treat them right, and they can't see clearly. Well, a lot of girls, teen girls and young women, also can't see clearly, right? Because they get wrapped up with all of the other stuff. And so anyways, so your daughter gets kind of hooked to this attention and this, oh my God, you're so beautiful and you're so this and you're so that, and it feels so good and it feels so good that your daughter's gonna want more and more of it. Why? Because she doesn't know how to give that to herself. She doesn't know how to look into a mirror and say, oh my God, look at me, I'm gorgeous today. She doesn't know how to do that. No, she doesn't. So when she starts receiving that, it feels really good. It's almost like it's intoxicating. Like she wants more, give me more, give me more, give me more of it, right? And so when somebody pays her attention, whether that's a guy or a girl that's paying her attention, and she's not used to getting that kind of attention, it feels good. And not only good, it feels like, oh my God, I need more of it. Oh my God, I need more of it. Oh my God, more. And then she starts seeking it out more, and she spends hours on social media, and she's talking to strangers, and she's talking to people who are pretending to be whomever they're pretending to be, right? And so then what happens with the whole sexting thing? And then what happens with the sending the news? Then what happens with sending videos, provocative videos and things like that? And all of this shit, like what's happening to these girls that they're getting tied into this whole big mess, right? And so here's the thing, when somebody, if she's chatting with someone and they're kind of like swooning her and she's getting like, ooh, this feels so good, it feels so good, right? And then all of a sudden, she really likes this boy or girl, and then all of a sudden it's like they've been chatting for a while, and then the person says, hey, can you send me a pic? Or maybe they start and maybe they send your daughter a pic, an inappropriate pic or a nude pic or something like that. So they go send one to your daughter, and then they ask your daughter, oh, go send me one. And then your daughter is like, shit, well, I don't really want to do this. Or your daughter doesn't even think twice about it, and she's like taking the camera and going click, 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 and then, showing cleavage and then just doing all these things and not even thinking about it, and going to send that off to someone who may be a 50, 60-year-old man that lives somewhere else that she doesn't know. She doesn't know who she's sending these inappropriate pictures, or she doesn't know even who she's really talking to. So this is really, really scary, and I think a lot of parents don't think that this would actually happen to or it can happen to your daughter, but it can. And I think a lot of girls are very naive and they're way too trusting. And I didn't get into this, when I was younger, but I was very naive and I was very overly trusting. And that is not always a good thing, because if your daughter just doesn't think and she just believes people for what they say, then how can she start thinking for herself? And she's just going to believe everything. And then the whole thing with pressure. So if boys are putting pressure on her, hey, send me this picture, or they start kind of inappropriate sexting with her, and she's like, well, I don't really like doing this, but I want this person to like me, so I'm going to keep this up and I'm going to continue doing this, then this is a real big problem. And so I always we have to bring it back to so here are the things that you can try to do to get your daughter to stop. I mean, sure, you can take away her phone. Is that a long-term solution, or is that just a short-term quick fix? That is a short-term quick fix, because eventually you can't keep your phone from your daughter forever, and eventually you're going to give it back to your daughter. And if nothing else has really changed, she's going to go right back to doing what she's been doing, okay? So taking away the phone, while it may be a quick fix in the moment or for a couple weeks or a couple months, but there's no way that you can just keep the phone forever. And there's other ways, if your daughter has friends or if she goes to school, there's other ways that she can go around this. If your daughter is smart, there's other ways that that she can figure out what to do even without a phone. Okay, these girls are a lot smarter than sometimes we think they are, right? So that's one thing that I want to say. The other thing too is okay, so if taking their phone away is not going to be a long-term solution, well, what is a long-term solution? I got to bring it back to your daughter's self-worth and self-value. How much self-worth and self-value do you think that a girl is going to have when she is opening her shirt, And, and then, taking all of these, trying to be all like she's 14, 13, 12, however old she is, she's trying to be all seductive, and she's taking these pictures, and she's, trying to be, I don't know what she's trying to be, right? And she's doing all of this. What does that say about your daughter? Like, truly, what does it say about your daughter if your daughter is doing this? Does she respect herself? No, she doesn't. Does she love herself? No, she doesn't. So we can do the quick fixes of the world, but really, if you are not getting to the root of this is not going to go away on its own. It's not going to change. And so where we have to go is get to the root. Now, the root is your daughter needs to love herself. Excuse me. Your daughter needs to love herself. She needs to start respecting herself. Noreen, she needs validation from others instead of getting it from herself. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Noreen. And so she needs to learn how to love herself. And now it's very easy to be like, oh, sweetie, you just need to love yourself. And your daughter's going to look at you like you're crazy. She doesn't know the first thing about loving herself. She really doesn't if she's engaging in this kind of behavior, right? She's so far removed from herself, and she's so disconnected with who she is that she can't even see clearly. She cannot even see clearly about what she is doing because there is a disconnect with who she is. And her worth and her value is mistakenly being placed with outside approval, or, oh, whether this guy likes me or not, or whether I have friends or this or that or whatever, right? You want your daughter, like if somebody ever asks her, hey, send me a nude pic, what do you want your daughter to say? Do you want your daughter to say, okay, sure, why not? I'll do it when I get home today. Or do you want your daughter to stand up for herself and say, hell no, you are never getting that from me, and then block that person because she doesn't need to engage anymore with that person, right? That's what you want for your daughter. You don't want your daughter to succumb to the peer pressure and to all of these people that are just doing crazy shit out in the world. Like, you don't need your daughter to be a part of it. There's always going to be people that are doing messed up shit in the world. And you need to have a daughter that's she may see it, but she doesn't need to engage in it. And she doesn't need to be a part of it. How do you get your daughter not to be a part of it? Again, it goes back to doing the work. Your daughter has to do the work to love herself. Your daughter has to do the work so she can start respecting herself and respecting her body. Your daughter has to do the work on herself so that she can meet herself with compassion. You want to stop this problem? That's where your daughter needs to go. Most therapy sessions are not giving this to your daughter, and she's not getting self-love from therapy, and she's definitely not getting it through medication. Just a little numbing effect, right? Numbs a little bit. But does that actually does it actually work and teach your daughter how to love herself? No, it doesn't. Self-worth, absolutely. Yeah, exactly, Noreen. So I think this is an important topic that you parents should be talking about this with your daughter, because not talking about it is not doing your daughter any favors. And thinking that your daughter wouldn't ever do something like this may be true or may not be. Because a lot of you parents don't actually know what your daughter is doing behind closed doors. A lot of your daughters come off as like sweet and proper and like, oh my God, just like, they come off as one way. But then with a boy or with, sexting or anything like that, this is why so many parents are shocked when they find these things on their daughter's phones. They're like, holy hell, how did I miss this? And a lot of parents are also shocked, like with other things too, like, oh my God, when you just find out your daughter's cutting for the first time and you find out she's been doing it for quite some time and you're like, how did I miss this, right? Because you don't know exactly what is going on with your daughter all the time. And this is why it's really important to have open and honest conversations with them. So I'm going to wrap up this Facebook Live. I think I talked about this enough, but if you have a daughter that is engaging in sexting or sending inappropriate pictures or sex videos or anything like that, I mean, I said it, but girls are doing this, right? Whether it's they're feeling pressured from it or they want to do it or whatever the reason is, you got to get to the root issue. And if your daughter is not loving herself and she's not respecting her body and her whole self, then that is a problem that needs to be addressed right away. And if you want help with that, I am an expert in teaching girls and young women how to love themselves. This is the work. This is the most important work that your daughter will ever get in her entire life. It's more important, it is more important than your daughter going, like, your daughter can go to school for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and she could be the smartest person on the face of the earth, and she could still get into this inappropriate behavior or the sexting or the sending the nudes or whatever, right? It doesn't matter how smart your daughter is. It's very easy to fall into some, when people are, people can easily take advantage of young people based on how naive these girls are, based on what they're doing on the internet and all the pictures that they're putting out there, maybe on Instagram or Snapchat and showing their location. And it's just scary. And you have to be on top of it, parents, and you can't assume that everything is just fine, because you don't know exactly what is going on all of the time. You really don't. You have to have those honest conversations with your daughters. So I'm gonna leave you with that, and if you have questions or concerns, you can you can post them below. If you came in late, definitely watch this from the beginning. Don't assume that just everything is fine with your daughter. Just because you're not having these conversations doesn't mean that your daughter is not getting wrapped up in the sexting or the sending the nudes or anything like that. Listen to the statistics that I said at the beginning of this Facebook Live. It's very, very alarming, and this is a really big problem. And it needs to stop. And the only way it's gonna stop is when girls are starting to feel more empowered, and when they start loving themselves, and when they start treating themselves with respect. That's how this changes, okay? If you want more information about my approach, you can watch my webinar. It's called Healing the New Medicine for Anxiety and Depression. And if you'd like to book a call with me from that place, you totally can. But this is not for every single girl. I will only take calls with girls and families that your daughter has to want the help. If she doesn't want the help, then we're not ready to connect yet, okay? So only book a call with me if you know and you're 100% certain that your daughter wants the help. Have the conversation with her and make sure. I will leave you guys all for now. Bye. Have a great day.